my presentation. Thank you. I will share my screen. Well, friends, you can see Vinayak and other colleagues.
Yes, sir, it is visible.
Okay. So here I am going to talk three things. First, what is the nature of agriculture growth in the recent past? What was the situation in 1920 and how the lockdown is going to influence the agriculture sector? That is the first thing. Second thing is that during this lockdown, who are the people who are most affected and how they can be compensated, what measures government has taken. That is a second part of this talk. And third is the number of reforms which the government has taken, and they are related to economy as a whole, they are related to agriculture sector as a whole, and therefore I will discuss those reforms also, how they will influence the uh, agriculture sector. Why the slide is not moving? There is some problem. Vinayak,
Yes, sir.
why the slide is not moving? Hmm?
Maybe, sir, from your annotation, some.
Yeah, it's here. It will click of mouse. So let me begin with a general note, and the note basically describes how we should manage a crisis, what are the steps there, and then see how government has followed, what are the things the government has done. So first thing, if we have to manage a crisis, this pandemic is a some kind of challenge, or you can say the crisis, because all sectors of the economy, all sections of the society, they are all affected. So first thing is to understand the crisis and manage the impact that. So basically, it is the health first to protect the life of people, and then see how we can control the spread of virus. That is the first thing, and that is what essentially government has done. Lockdown is a measure to actually to control the spread of virus. That is the first step. Second most important step is compensate the worst affected segment of the economy and the society. And these are basically casual workers who are losing employment and income, mostly in urban areas, and working in the manufacturing sector, working in the MSME sector. That is the second thing which we have to do it. And government has taken cognizance of this, and they have started working in this direction. Third thing is that if you want to have major initiative, there you have to take people with you, with the government, let's say, and there they will be coming only when you share information with them. It is basically people's participation, and the initiatives like Janta Curfew, resource mobilization through PM Cares, and issuing the guidelines is basically sharing information with the people, what step government is taking, and how the people can participate. That is actually, and how the people can take care. That is the third step, and that is what exactly government has done. Fourth important step is addressing the larger economic impact, because all are affected. So what are the things, or what are the measures we can just see that impact on the economy, that is minimized. For that we need to have a strategy, policy and reforms. The whole package announced by the government, the package, economic package for different sectors. There were a series of press conference by the Honorable Finance Minister, and they have indicated that these are the reforms or the measures taken by the government to reduce the impact or to revive the economy. That is the most. But looking at the impact on Indian agriculture, the major thing was there that during the lockdown one initially, that is, you can say the April initial, last week of March and maybe first week of April, first 3 weeks. So there was little confusion that lockdown means nothing was working. And in that process, the supply chain, they were basically affected. And soon the government has taken measures that these supply chains for the agriculture commodities, they should be restored, but there were not many buyers, basically bulk buyers. And because of that, there was some kind of, you can say, the setback. And the worst affected commodities were milk, because 25% of our milk is basically being marketed through informal, let's say the channel, kind of, let's say milk vendors or maybe that kind of thing. But dairy sectors, organized sector, it was working well, but it is the informal 25% of the, let's say the milk which was handled by this sector. Fish, actually, because they are perishable. Poultry, there were some issues. Flower industry, there were many, because it's not a flower season, but it's still. And some fruits and vegetables. So these were the commodities which were affected. But soon, once the government restored the, let's say the supply chain, and therefore things started working. Farmers, they were really very well managed. These farm operations, harvesting, all those things, they were managed properly. Government announced the, let's say, restoration of marketing channels and initiated the procurement of operation, particularly for wheat, because this was the season of wheat. And you will be happy to know that so far the procurement done by the government is 34 million tons, which is in fact slightly higher than what was the procurement last year. So from this you can say there is no effect on the marketing operations. Maybe because of lockdown initially, the marketing season was, let's say, delayed for a week or 2 weeks, but actually eventually the product was purchased by government agencies and the other traders. And this time we got the some kind of let's say time to manage the next season, kharif season basically, and marketing of fruits, mainly mango and lychee. So you have heard the Secretary Department of Fertilizer that the availability of fertilizer has been ensured. So that is the kind of arrangement which the government has done. But if we look at the overall agriculture growth during the 2019 and 20, the growth rate of agriculture is 4%. It is significantly higher than the growth rate which was higher than in 2018 and 19. So this indicates that up to March, there was no significant impact on agriculture sectors in terms of, let's say, productivity, production, everything was ensured, and that is how it was done. But major impact, I mean, here we can take little supply chain little in more detail. One impact which actually agriculture sector has faced, because in a particular sector there was no demand for agriculture products, and this particular sector was the hospitality sector, hotels, restaurants, that is food we take away from home. And this you can say the partly compensated by the increased public distribution to the weaker section of the society. So that was again a major impact, you can say, on the demand of agriculture products. But for the initiative taken by the government, allowing the transportation, storage, decentralized procurement, and providing even opportunities to farmer producer organizations to sell directly to the consumers, bulk buyers. So that was another thing. And maybe through these in-arm operations, all those things. And there is again focus of the government on rural infrastructure, marketing, and financing that we will discuss a little later in detail. Another major impact we can just see, supply chain we have been talking about. Let's say if these supply chain were significantly interrupted, or they were basically not working that, I mean, say as efficiently as they were working earlier. But here we can see the export during the 2018 and 19 red bar, and the exports during 2019 and 20. Here you can see in most of the commodities, the exports, they were at par with the what we have exported last year. In fact, for sugar, we have exported more this year because it was before the lockdown. Actually, we might have done, but for other actually spices also we have exported more. These are the value in let's say the $1 million. But only two products or three you can see. One is the raw cotton. There, the export is less than what we have the last year. Second is the oil meal. It is less than what we have last year. And third is the non-basmati rice. But these are the product where time duration is not that important. If it was, let's say, first week of April, you can export later, maybe in May or maybe later half of April. So that kind of thing. So this shows that all our supply chains, including, let's say, the agriculture export chains, they were working, and we are able to export even the commodities like grapes. The season, it was in, let's say, March. And now recently, I don't know what is the situation in mango, Dasari, but particularly some Alfonso, there might have been some exports. So therefore, fruits and vegetable, we don't see that much drop in the export. So certainly things were working, and we are able to even tap the international market. But the major thing is here that the major lockdown was April and May, and is still continuing some way. In June, we have the government has opened, but particularly during the period of April and June. And here, whatever the latest data is now coming, we see the index of industrial production for the month of April. So that is now 56.3, very significant fall in the industrial production. So manufacture sector has been really hit hard during the period of lockdown, because everything was closed. That was the thing. But not so much impact on the agriculture sector, because for April and May, it is some kind of lean season, not many activities, only marketing, maybe a little bit of other things, post-harvest kind of things take place. But generally, during this period, the farmers, they prepare for the next Kharif season. And the information which is coming from Department of Agriculture, that indicates that the area sown under Kharif crops this year is 30% higher than what was sown last year. So it means farm operations, farmers are able to manage the farm operations, and they are working well at farm level. There is no problem, and it is because of that we don't face a significant impact on the agriculture sector. And most positive thing again here is because there is a forecast of normal monsoon this year, and therefore we can expect a good Kharif harvest this year. So agriculture sector will again certainly do better. But if you look at the agriculture sector as a whole, the growth is coming from other sectors, that is livestock. It is for, we have seen from 2011 to 2000, let's say 17, 18. So crop sector has not performed that much, but this year the food grain production is again a record food grain production, 285 million tons of food grains. But livestock sector growth is very high, 7.3. Fishing and aquaculture, that be affected. What the ICR says, particularly the this brood stock and let's say the seed, that is affected, but that has also done well. So therefore agriculture sector, because these are the sectors where this kind of lockdown will not have that let's say the effect which will continue for the year long. So therefore agriculture sector will continue to be have good performance. Another, if you look at the nature of agriculture growth, actually, one positive thing which is happening in the agriculture sector is that there is some kind of convergence in the land productivity. There is convergence in the land productivity. The states where the productivity was less, they are coming closer to other states, And therefore, we have this kind of what we have seen on the graph left-hand side, and right-hand side indicate the major sources of growth. For some crops, Madhya Pradesh, Andhra Pradesh, growth in the productivity of field crops is still important. But for Madhya Pradesh, livestock is important. Tamil Nadu, livestock is important. Rajasthan, Andhra Pradesh, livestock is important. Andhra Pradesh and Odisha, fisheries is important. So these sectors, they are contributing significantly to the growth of agriculture sector. Another important factor from the point of agriculture and rural, let's say, development is what is happening to the non-farm rural employment. And if we see share of non-farm rural employment is basically 40%. It was 12-13 data in the farmers' income, and which should be more, in fact, now, because it's 7-8 years have passed since then. And therefore, this rural non-farm sector has is very, very important for major state. In fact, all the states, you can see that employment is rising. And if you look at what are those activities besides agriculture in rural areas, construction is the main activity. It is for some state, I think UP. Then we have the manufacturing sector in the rural sector. So manufacturing and the construction, they together basically 23rd, 1/3 of, let's say 20, let's say almost 1/4 of the, let's say the people, they are let's say engaged in rural areas and these sectors. And during the lockdown, these sectors, they were really affected, and therefore we need to see what is happening to the people at that level. Now, what are the, you can say, the initiative taken by the government to revive the economy, the economic package? So basically 4 things they have done it. First is to protect the really poor people. So there they have taken the direct benefit transfer, income transfer, higher public distribution of food grains. Then Ujjwala, basically this gas cylinders, all those things. So it is 1.92 lakh crores. Second is economic reforms for attracting investment and competitiveness. Number of reforms are taken, taken by the government. Some of the sectors, they are open to the private sector. They are in defense, they are in coal, they are in other sectors, except the strategic, which are not of strategic nature. They have been opened for the private sector. And number of reforms they have taken provide the incentive so that more investment is coming, and therefore people have more employment. There is use of monetary policy also, focus on the liberal financing and the particularly for the MSME, micro, small and medium enterprises. For them, package is around 6 lakh crores, and there are number of regulatory issues related to this particular sector, because this sector provides, let's say, a significant employment to the people and contribute to nearly 30% to the national GDP. So therefore, there is special focus of the government on this particular sector. Then for the state, tax devolution to states, their higher share, the increasing borrowing limit of the states 3% to 5%, and these are all linked to reform so that they can attract more investment. Agriculture sector, there is focus on the infrastructure, credit, value chains, income generation, and market reforms. Let's take these. Coming to agriculture credit. So these are the 3 sectors: agriculture and allied sector, food processing, micro and small enterprises. We have taken 3 sectors here and seen here food processing, not much change. So now the reforms taken by the government, there is special focus for the food processing industries. During the month of February and March, for the micro, and small enterprises, they have shown some improvement in the credit. And certainly the measures taken by the government, there are a number of significant measures which the government has taken. Collateral free loan, this is a major step by the government. Equity funding, subordinate debt, this for the MSME sector. And certainly it is going to, the idea is let's provide more money more liquidity, more cash, more capital with this sector. So then they can start, because there were no operations for 2 months. They can start their, I mean, say, financial position. The economy can again restart, particularly in this segment of the society. For agriculture sector, the package is 1.5 lakh crore for agriculture sector. 1 lakh crore is for financing facility for farm gate infrastructure project, aggregation point, market infrastructure, that is basically through credit. And in fact, to NABARD, they have said the additional, let's say, refinancing they'll be providing to the order of 30,000 crores. It is for the primary agriculture cooperative societies, FPOs, farmer producer organization, startups, agri entrepreneurs. That is the focus, that if they are starting, so there will be financing facility for them. Focus on micro food processing, 10,000 crores. Animal health, dairy and fisheries infrastructure, it is 40,000 crores. Focus is again on income and employment generation in this sector. Again, some allocations for the income generating activities, beekeeping, medicinal plant, all those things, so that farmers, they are able to compensate, let's say, or increase their income. What is the goal of the government, the doubling the income, so that should not be affected. That is the basic purpose here. Then three major reforms, these are done by the government recently. They are done through ordinance, and we have been discussing these reforms for a pretty long time. And the government have, let's say, has moved forward and issued these ordinance, and there were some, you can say, the issues in the agriculture marketing, and they are addressed by the government. First is removing food products from the list of commodities under the purview of Essential Commodities Act. These are taken out. Grains, pulses, edible oil, these, onion, these things are taken out. The idea is, because if we have these products under the Essential Commodities Act, so these are regulated, there are limits on stock. Say, for example, we have seen in pulses, there were shortage, so they were not, traders, they were not supposed to store. But when we have significant increase in the production, so it was advised that the processors or the dal mills guys, they can actually buy the pulses and store. So same thing is here, that there will not be any control on this. Anybody can buy and store, because we are in a situation now, we have surpluses in many commodities. So it is not a situation of shortage, it is a situation of surplus. And when there is some kind of emergency or some situation, so those provisions of essential commodities again can be brought back into operation. That is the first major reform for the agriculture sector. Second major reform is done to providing freedoms to farmers and traders to transact outside the mandis or APMC market. So anywhere, anyone can have some kind of e-portal. They can buy directly from the farmers, and that is done through the farmers produce and commerce, farmer produce trade and commerce protection and promotion and felicitation ordinance 2020. So this basically remove all kind of, let's say, the regulations, market regulations, and people, because in number of areas we have seen in case of, let's say, soybean, they are private traders, those who want to buy directly from the farmers. Then there are, let's say, the other commodities, maybe even, let's say, rice, particularly superfine rice. Those mills, they want to buy directly from the farmers, and therefore other commodities also. So therefore, this ordinance has really provided freedom to farmers to sell the produce anywhere outside the market. but it does not mean that we will not have earlier system. Mandis they will continue to operate. MSP that will continue to be announced. Government will have let's say the procurement operation, all those things. So what is the existing mechanism that will work? But this is in addition to that, again some kind of framework where farmers they have this freedom to sell in the market wherever they see. They can get the good price in the market. Third major reform, we have been economists and many, I think all the people who are interested in agriculture sector, they have studied the contract farming. So it is some kind of arrangement between the farmers and the processing industry or some other buyer, bulk buyer particularly, to enter in some kind of agreement. There is agreement relating to price. There is agreement relating to quality of, let's say, the produce which the farmers they have to provide, as well as there is some kind of incentive in the form of technical advice the buyers is providing to the farmers. So this has been an operation. The basic thing in that particular arrangement is that when both farmers and the industry or the buyers they have incentive, it will continue to operate. Farmers they have incentive in the form of better prices. They have incentive in the form of technical advice, better input, maybe somewhere financing they get it. These are the incentive for the farmers. Buyers, the incentive is they get the produce of rice, right quality at right time. They can stagger the, so that is incentive for them, and therefore that is really helping the industry in getting the good product. And this has been operating in number of, let's say, the commodities, particularly where the quality matters. So therefore, the government has brought another ordinance, that is the Farmers Empowerment and Protection Agreement on Price Assurance, that is price contract, and Farm Service Ordinance 2020. So this was announced. And the another important thing in both the ordinance is that there is a mechanism for conflict resolution. Earlier, if there was a, let's say, this contract, mostly they were verbal. Maybe industry or the buyers, they were working through, let's say, the group of farmers, through the, let's say, village head or some influential farmer, maybe something like that, or some, let's say, lead farmers. And there was no mechanism to, if there are some, let's say, conflict, maybe in terms of price, maybe in terms of quantity purchased. So there was no mechanism to resolve that conflict. Now, in both the ordinances, there is a mechanism to resolve this conflict, and that is very, very important. That is a major initiative of the government, and that is very well appreciated. And certainly, farmers and the industry who is working in the let's say through this kind of mechanism, working with the farmers, certainly they will be benefited. Now coming to the people who are, let's say, the affected. Say agriculture sector, which I said earlier, farmers, they were doing it, casual labor, because they require continuous operations, they were there, so they were not much affected. So they are 12.1, but there were some casual labor in the, what I said, the rural non-farm sector. So that is close to now 13%, what you can see on the left hand side with the red color. And similarly, urban areas, casual labor, actually, they don't get daily, so it is close to 12%. So this is 12 to 30% of the workers, actually, they are affected, and actually they are the, you can say, the target group of the government to provide the safety nets for these people, and they should be affected. And you can see here among among this group in both rural and urban areas, the incidence of poverty is very, very high. So therefore, the initiative taken by the government, they should be further augmented. Another major thing which we have observed, actually, and what at the student of economics we have studied, that during the development process, the labor, is transferred from agriculture to the non-agriculture sector, from primary to secondary and tertiary sectors. So this kind of migration take place, and it was taking place. But this lockdown has really put in process this reverse migration of labor, and therefore the government has really is concerned about this. And there is what I said earlier, the PM Garib Kalyan Yojana of 1.92 lakh crores, which is announced by the government and being implemented that in some of these workers, they have moved back to the rural areas. So additional 40,000 crores for this MG Narega, the government has provided, which will generate 300 crore percentage income. So through this particular mechanism, the government has really created additional employment opportunities in the rural areas. So earlier, somewhere 65 to 70,000 crore allocation was there. Now this is in addition to that. So significant increase in the allocation for Manrega. Revival of economic activities in rural areas, construction, irrigation projects. So those things, they are taking place. Impact of rural market, we can see economists, those who are close to the, let's say, the rural labor areas, or you can say the villages, they can study it. What is the impact of, let's say, of this reverse migration on labor market? What decision they will take, number of things are there, I will discuss that, but certainly how they will influence the labor market in rural areas as well as in the urban areas. That is a very important question to study. And manufacturing and service sector, naturally, those who have gone, they will take time to come back, and we have to just see, maybe industry, they will move towards a kind of farm mechanization in this particular sector. Finally, there are some trade-offs which everybody has to manage. Everybody means economic actor in the system, including the government. First, what I just said, reverse migration, rural labor, they want to continue or they want to come back. The decision will depend higher income in the urban areas versus livelihood and social security in rural areas. They want to stay, they are satisfied with the, let's say, the lower income, or they again come back to the immediately in the, let's say, to the urban areas, industry, where the wages are high, income level are high. Certainly, that will be a real positive factor. The industry will also try to bring back this, but certainly it will take time, and slowly again the process will start when things become normal. Second important thing is, because if there are uncertainties, let's say in the international market, so the traders, they will have to have some kind of manage this trade-off, international versus a domestic product market. Self-reliance, managed within the, let's say, of course, for the country, it will be self-reliance. It is the policy of the government, managed within the country, but at the same time, traders, they will say whether they should look to the domestic market or the export orientation. That is a second trade-off. But the idea is that if you are able to focus on the rural areas, make them hubs for agriculture, industry, and services, so that will really provide gainful employment to the people in the rural areas and provide some kind of backward and forward linkages to the agriculture sector and absorb the additional labor. And this is basically should also improve the cost effectiveness. Friends, let me conclude with some kind of a statement saying that during this whole process, agriculture sector has emerged as some kind of a major strength of the economy. And therefore, Agriculture is an economic, ecological, and social sector, and therefore should continue to get high priority of the government and all the development. So this is what I just wanted to share with all of you. Let me thank each one of you for being connected with us, bearing a little bit of inconvenience initially that we could not connect with the Secretary Raul during initial remarks. It would have been much better. We tried to improve it, but certainly, I mean, many people, I was looking at the messages, they were not, it was not audible, there were problems, but certainly we'll make better and better. But once this is over, we are going to have another new initiatives, very important initiative that will be of interest to all the economists, those who are doing research, all the faculty members, those who are teaching the undergraduate and postgraduate students, and all the students, whether at whatever level they are in agriculture sector or outside the agriculture sector. Certainly, that will be another interesting kind of initiative of the institute. So thank you very much for your patience and support to this activity of our institute. Thank you very much. Over to you, Dr. Vinayak.
Yes, sir. There are some questions. If one or two questions we can take.
Yeah, one question which you sent in advance, it came from the, I think, university in Udaipur. And that question was how we can improve the labor productivity. The basic thing is to improve the labor productivity, basically have better technology, bring the cost effectiveness, to have better production process, better, let's say, the organizational structure. So it is the technological change which is going to improve the latter agriculture productivity. We have to invest more, because when we have the higher labor productivity, capital intensity also increase, because the new technology capital sometimes they are related. The modern technologies more capital intensive. So that is the one way of doing it. But if there are some other questions, we can take. Yeah.
Questions are there, sir? Question and answer section at the bottom.
Yeah, sure. Let me, where Q&A, six questions are there.
Yes, sir.
One question is related to the implications of public policy. So this I have already covered that, what the initiative government has taken to actually to ensure the not only supply chains, but focus on the farmers' income. And that is through providing the employment opportunity in the rural areas. That is through strengthening the infrastructure, 1 lakh crore package for government to strengthen the farm gate infrastructure to improve the aggregation. And this is being done through providing the financing facilities. That is a major step of the government. And I think for dairy or maybe some other sector also, they are going to increase the number of Kisan credit card. So financing, this is a major focus on that, so that people have more money. And in fact, this is the reforms, whether it is through monetary policy or fiscal policy or direct reform of the government, to bring more money in the economy, to provide more money to the, let's say, farmers, to provide more money or capital to the entrepreneurs. What would be the impact of Essential Commodities Act? Already covered. So basically the idea is that if these restrictions, they are reduced, so certainly private sector participation would be more, and maybe they can go for some kind, let's say the processing industry, they can now process. We can take one example. Basically, I took the example of dal meal. They can buy, they can store it, they can, let's say, they make dal, and then whenever they see, they can just keep on distributing. Same thing they can do for the other commodities. So it is basically to attract the private sector, to attract the investment in the storage, let's say all those things, to strengthen that kind of trading. So that is the basic purpose. It should have positive impact. That is what generally people are expecting. What are the implications of reverse migration of agricultural labor? I have already indicated the immediate challenge is to provide employment of these people. And agriculture sector is such a sector. So this is also acting as some kind of safety net for the people, for the workers. And Manrega is another where government has provided additional allocations. APLM Act, there is question, but APLM Act, it will be there, but the new act has basically, I would say that it may continue, whatever the mandis they are operating, they will continue. But outside the APMC market, transaction will take place. Friends, let me take, you can look at the number of surveys brought out by the, let's say, NSSO or studies done by the researchers. A significant proportion of agriculture output is being sold outside the APMC markets. Where markets, they are well developed, Northwest India, product is coming to market. But other products, let's say fruits, that is being sold outside maybe. Contract, pre-harvest contract, all those things. Milk, informal trade kind of thing. Number of agriculture product, farm products. So that is already being done actually. So it is providing some kind of framework for this kind of arrangement, so that a formal arrangement, formal participation of the private sector, they can come, transaction can take, better price discovery, and if there are issues, those can be addressed in a transparent way. Regulated market, those who are functioning, they will continue, they should continue. In fact, they have been doing good, let's say, service to the farmers, but those which were not really functional, maybe if they are improved, maybe start functioning, or other alternate will be there. The basic reason is because most of the farmers, their marketed surplus is really, really small. And there are number of aggregators at the village level. You can call them traders, but we call them aggregators. They buy and bring the produce to the market. So mechanism will continue to do, but who transacts, who operates, that is a different thing. Sir, you have presented the economic reforms in a very nice manner. Thank you very much. Any other question? Vinayak? I think we have taken all the questions, answered 4, dismissed 6. I think we have taken all the questions.
Some are there, 2, 3.
Yeah, if something is left, again, you can just flag in. You can just send it. There is another.
Bottom.
How can we reduce reverse migration in order to improve the economy? It's basically, again, assuring them that, okay, fine, things have revived. The economy will take care, the government will take care of these people. But as I said, that will depend what is the expected level of income, the income difference in rural and urban areas, in agriculture sector and the, let's say, the manufacturing sector or the service sector. That will determine their bring back and confidence which the government can provide to these people. Certainly, at one point of time, they will come back, because that is the development process. Only thing, it has a little provided some kind of, let's say, halting that process. But certainly, when things become normal, this process will again start, because the income level, wage differential, they are pretty high in urban and rural areas. If the pandemic recurs, will the present policies will be able to manage the negative externalities? Let's hope, Senthil, he has written. So let's hope that things will improve. But certainly, agriculture sector, I would say not that much. That only thing that they have to bear the, let's say, or support the additional workers now. But this pandemic has also provided the opportunity. When the crisis came and the supply chain, they were, let's say, disrupted, government has taken the initiative that how to restore. There was initiative from the government. There were initiative from the traders, those who were in the business. There was initiative from the farmers. So all the actors, they have come together and they have found out the ways how to ensure the supply chain. These are the essential commodities, how they should reach to the, let's say, the consumers. That was the main thing. And because of those things, these issues, these reforms, marketing reforms, which are taken by the government. So this was again an opportunity. Learn from this, how the farmers manage the adversity. They have managed it actually. But the only thing is we have to see in your region, this Punjab, Haryana, how they manage the paddy transplanting. That is a major thing. It should start maybe end of this month or July. So let's see. But certainly these are the things which we actually learn from the experience and then see how we can make these supply chains more inclusive, more compact. Export, we have seen this because their product is processed and immediately it is, let's say, sent to the port or somewhere there. The supply, I mean, these chains, they are not that long, they are compact. So how we can make our all this supply chain, particularly for the perishable, this is one major thing we can learn from this experience. And after we, I mean, overcome all this challenge, certainly those things should be in place. Yeah, research issues which researcher can focus on their respective district. Okay, it's very good question. In fact, this was in my mind. I mean, you are all, I guess, in different parts of the country. So two questions. What was the major challenge or constant farmers faced? How they manage it at their level? Second thing, what is the challenge which is still not addressed? What should be done and how it can be done? So if your suggestion, you can send to us, we'll collate it and we will work on this and then see what are the things, and wherever there will be opportunities, certainly we'll share with the government so that they are able to take the some let's say decision on that. So this is, I think, a very good thing. All of you can do it because right now all the information which we are getting, it is in Delhi, it is in the state capital, in the government machinery. But all our state agriculture universities, ICR Institute, they are in the field, they are in the production zone. So this kind of information, if you provide, certainly you have your students. So certainly it will be very, I would say, the rich, let's say, the information which we can share with the government. What is next? It is taking more than and inequality is one question. This is yeah, one issue, and it's a so sensitive issue. My position is, unless we have assured property rights in the villages and a kind of mechanism, if there are some, let's say, the disputes, there is a mechanism to address that particular dispute. So these things will continue. So better option is have aggregation at the village level, FPOs, communities, let's say the small processors, those kind of things, they are the options now. Food availability to household. What about the nutrition affected household as per household? Yes, this is again a good question because they are concerned about this. And there were a number of suggestions. What government has taken the decision, their decision was 5 kg of additional grain, rice wheat per month. And in addition 1 kg of dal that the government has taken. Then another, the suggestion was somebody that if for the sector like poultry, when little bit, let's say, demand is not that much, so can we include eggs as part of this, so that the demand is there for the poultry sector can let's say bear a little bit of let's say loss, but partly they can be compensated and provide eggs to the through the public distribution. But handling all those things may be logistic. I don't know whether it is implemented, but certainly state governments can do it actually, because it's not much let's say the logistic required at that level. It can be done. The scope of ENAM in these times. ENAM is basically a digital platform. It is proving to be very, very useful. Whether you call it ENAM or e-portal or e-platform established by private sector, that basically provide the information and connect the sellers and buyers. So that is very useful. In fact, initially, when the suggestions we asked, what we suggested, that let's take this opportunity to connect all mandis to ENAM, so that at least this information exchange can take place and transaction can take place. So ENAM has a very, very, I mean, say important role to play to bring the transparency in the agriculture marketing. GM here with second questions. What are the innovations taken in the field of agriculture marketing during lockdown? I have covered this, I think. I mean, PPT, it's there. Then how the private sector participation will increase farmers' income? This is again a very good question. Say problem for any market, particularly for agriculture market, is that there is not adequate competition. There is government for procurement of rice and wheat. Now, gram also, maybe some other commodities also it is there, and traders. But if you have large traders there, exporters also participating. So therefore, there will be greater participation. Greater participation, more number of actors, they will have more competition, more transparency. And that way, price discovery will be better and farmers will be able to bargain because there are more number of buyers in the, let's say, the agriculture market. We have seen in the case of contract farming. So there is a, let's say, market, and then there is the bulk buyer or processor, whosoever may be, and they provide higher prices to the farmers. So if you have more participation, maybe in this form or some other form, certainly it will improve the participation or competition in the agriculture market, and that will be beneficial for the farmers. Essential Commodities Act, I have already covered this. Micro level supply within the vicinity, micro planning, Panchayati Raj. Yeah, it's a lot of things. Actually, these things have taken place when the market was not functioning. For some of the commodities, sorry, some maybe it was for vegetable and fruits, and they were examples. Actually, farmers organized themselves and they were selling in the nearby market. So those kind of arrangements, because somebody else was bringing, now the farmers they are bringing. Certainly, they will learn from this experience, and these kind of, you can say, the local market, farmers market, that will be another good opportunity to directly a link between consumers and the farmers. What else? Public policy, I have already covered.
This
Consumer essential commodities I have covered. APMC I have covered. So I think I covered all the questions.
Okay, sir.
You think?
So one question is from Facebook.
Yeah.
Nomita Kumar, she's asking, what about your views on farmers and their women farmers and their problem, particularly during COVID-19 situation?
Yeah, this is very important, and really, we have not given a clear thought to this. Certainly, they might have faced difficulty in terms of marketing. I'm sure they might have managed their farm operations well, but marketing, there would have been some initially problem. We can imagine the women farmers, particularly, let's say, hill agriculture, maybe in some other areas, but certainly they might have managed through some kind of local arrangement or some kind of aggregation, maybe village traders, because they must be in contact with some traders, and those must be mostly local traders. So they might have managed well, but maybe there may be instances when they have really uh, faced some problem for selling their produce, and maybe in terms of price they realize. But we'll look at it further. Yeah. Thank you.
There are many questions on Facebook also, but we cannot.
Important one you can take if there is something different from these. Yeah.
Yes, some suggestions, some compliments are there, like from Kiran Kokate sir is saying that in this situation, reforms are necessary for land use pattern of smallholders. Some
Yeah,
compliments.
this is, I mean, very good thing. I was in touch with him, particularly when we are looking at it, the how the farmers they are managing uh, uh, the farm operations. But certainly, this has indicated that if we have this aggregation at the village level, through tenancy reforms, through some kind of institutional arrangement there, certainly this is one thing we can, government is aware about that, but as soon as these arrangements they are taking shape, they are formed, certainly this will provide a major boost to the agriculture sector.
I think, sir, it's already more than 5:30. We can stop now.
Oh yeah, I didn't see the time. So thank you very much. I thank all the colleagues and friends who are, let's say, connected to not only to this discussion, but all the 20 days. And certainly this is, you have all question and answer, but certainly we'll be happy if you kindly provide your feedback. You can send email to my colleagues, or you can write to me directly, how we can make such efforts, because it's a very effective way to increase, I mean, to get in touch with the large number of people actually. So initially, I mean, many people they have logged in, so, and they are continuing actually. So this is very effective measure. We'll continue in one way or the other, and certainly your suggestions will help us to improve these programs whenever we take. Certainly we are going to have a new format, new thing in this direction, that we are connecting with the faculty and student of economics, extension, other discipline, how we can just share the work which actually senior people they are working. So that will also be another, I'm thinking on that, and that will also be again interesting initiative. So thank you very much to all the colleagues and friends, and both of you, Vinayak and Abhimanyu, for really continuing with this activity. And time is really good. In fact, somebody suggested it should be 4:30 or 5, but that may be a little late. But I think it is the right time. Those who are interested, they can I mean, attend the discussion, and it will be available on YouTube. It will be available on Facebook. So whenever people feel, they can look at it and they can send their feedback. Thank you very much.
Sir, thank you. We are thankful to Sri Chabilendra Rao, Secretary, Department of Fertilizer, Government of India, for his opening remark. Though there was some technical issue in connecting with him, still he could speak through mobile phone, showing his commitment to agriculture. And we are really thankful to him. We are also thankful to Dr. Suresh Pal sir, Director NIA, for highlighting various issues like impact of COVID-19, economic package by government, and reforms initiated by government. We are really grateful to you, sir, for today's session. Thank you very much. And dear participants, tomorrow, that is 17th June at 4 p.m., we will learn the topic of cluster analysis. And for that, speaker will be Dr. Alka Arora from Indian Agricultural Statistic Research Institute, New Delhi. Thank you very much for active participation. We will meet tomorrow. Till then, goodbye from me and my co-host, Dr. Abhimanyu. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.